Talladega. I could just end the video there because Talladega is Talladega. There's nothing like it in NASCAR, in the world, in the universe. Nothing is like Talladega. And to say that, well, the Talladega race was pretty good, it shouldn't be a surprise. I personally have loved the last couple Superspeedway packages NASCAR has put out, and so far, I have loved the next-gen one, with the exception of the dual races. But every package is going to have its duds. But anyway, getting back to Talladega. Today, I want to go over 3 major things because I think this Talladega race, in every single way, was an improvement over the Daytona 500. And that's something that a lot of times is kind of tough to do. You might be able to make the racing or the moments better, but the broadcast might not be better, or vice versa. But in this case, all 3 things were better. So that's what we're going to look at. The racing itself overall. I'm only going to look at 3 that really catch my eye in particular, and then a lot of focus too on the broadcast from both Cup and Xfinity a bit this weekend. Starting off with the racing itself, I would personally say, and I was at Daytona, I had some pretty good seats, so I saw the whole racetrack, everything like that, saw the race. I personally thought the Talladega race had better racing than the Daytona 500 did. I think that generally you could see a lot of the runs forming better on the high line or the very high line or the low line. You could really see off the corner the energy of the draft start to really collect itself and push cars to another when there was a gap. And that's something we saw a lot at the end of the Gen 6 era in extremely fast runs for different cars. But I think the closing speeds being a little slower, the speeds being a little tapered down compared to the Gen 6 has really helped the racing overall. These cars were on edge the whole time. Because of how worn Talladega Superspeedway has gotten in the last 16 years, you can see that handling is becoming more and more of a factor again. But they weren't on edge to the point where they were spinning out. Handling was important, but it wasn't the most important part. And I think that compared to Daytona, the runs were a lot quicker in the draft, and it seemed like these drivers had a lot more confidence. Personally, I think it's more or less that the teams are getting a grasp now on the next gen, and once they go to more similar tracks, you're going to see better racing, or at least better handling cars. But something that was really cool to me is that line ability and availability was a lot easier. You could have that bottom line training around like they did with about 30 or so to go, but you could also have the high line make a run, get up there with enough cars, generating enough energy, and make that run up there. The thing that I liked is that handling didn't cause tons of accidents. This race was not a wreck fest. You could say that about the Daytona 500, especially at the finish. You could say that about a lot of superspeedway races for probably the last 5 to 6 years, but you can't say that about this one. Yes, there were crashes, but one of the crashes was caused by engine issues, one was caused by stack-ups and just lack of driver communication with spotters, and then others were caused by racing hard for the win. Either way, that's not something I would be upset with. What I get upset with are crashes with insanely stupid moves, and we didn't see really that many stupid moves this time. On a side note, I want to say that I think this is a huge win for the next gen when you look at the fact that the winning car of Ross Chastain's #1 Trackhouse car was last raced at Circuit of the Americas. Yes, a road course car got turned around and turned into a super speedway car and could win on both. So, gotta say, attaboy to NASCAR. The next gen car is doing a lot better than the COT or Gen 6 did at being more versatile for the teams. Now, the moment. #1, I talked about it a little bit, that big one with Joey Logano. At first, I thought that was Bubba Wallace just hammering into the back of the 22 car with no regard. But when you look back on that replay a little bit, you can kind of see a stack up when Truex hits the brakes, going back into, I believe it was a 43, might have been the 42. It was one of the GMS cars. And then Logano gets backed up. It was just a classic bad super speedway restart. We saw a similar thing in 2012 in the Aaron's 499, so this isn't something that's alien. I do think that in the end, yes, Bubba could have definitely laid off the 22 that early in the event, but at the same time, you got to race hard in these restarts if you're going to be able to keep up with the other line. So I don't think that's too big a thing. Now to Bubba's teammate, Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch had a hell of a save with, I believe, 3 maybe 2 laps to go, where he looked like he was damn near spun out. And somehow into the corner at 195 miles per hour, the man saved the car and kept racing for the win. I think that, again, is another win for NASCAR with the next-gen car, as these cars do not have the same amount of side force that the COT Gen 6, and you can even say late Gen 4 era cars had. And then, of course, you have the finish. The finish of this race was a bit messy. It had a lot of bad moves. There were some good moves. For instance, Ross Chastain being patient, just letting the Red Sea open up for him. Yeah, I'd got to say, smart moves there. But there were some dumb ones. Kyle Larson moving up when he wasn't clear for, I believe, the 3rd time this year. It's an uncharacteristically bad move by our former champion, and it kind of shows that Larson is a bit off this year compared to last year. And then you got Eric Jones trying to block him. In the moment, that was the right decision. But seeing how there was contact with Kurt Busch, had Jones kept it on the bottom, the worst he's finishing is 2nd in that race. So it sucks. I wish Jones would have gotten that win in some ways, just because it was really cool seeing the 43 be ultra competitive again, like he's been a lot this year, but it is what it is. And then I talked about it at the start, but the broadcast. Holy crap, NASCAR on Fox, they absolutely hit it out of the park this week. I have been one of the first people to come out and be critical and really rip on the stuff that Fox Sports has done this year. But I gotta say, the last 2 weeks especially, Fox has been on it. Starting off with the pre-race show. Listen, I hated the pre-race show the first 7 or so races this year. But they have been the last 2 weeks at Bristol Dirt and at Talladega been doing the pre-race show from outside the track with fans around them. And you know what? That is something that was sorely needed. Fan interaction on the broadcast. Having something that generates atmosphere on the broadcast to start with is a way, 1, to pump up your base, and 2, is a way to get people who maybe are coming across it for the first time or more casual fans to look at it and go, wow, that looks really fun. I want to keep watching. Also, gotta say, the Dale Jr. effect was fully there on the broadcast. Junior, in my opinion, is the best color commentator that NASCAR has right now. Yes, you have good lead anchors and guys like Mike Joy, but I gotta say, when you have people who can be really good analysts during the race, it is a huge plus. And like I said, Dale Jr. is the best of them. And I have no problem saying this now. Dale Jr. is the modern Benny Parsons, a driver who was really good in his career, one of the greats who raced the greats, but became a better analyst and broadcaster once his driving career was over. Junior has done marvelously at NBC, and he fit into this broadcast like a glove this past week. Go and watch the first lap of this race. Most of the commentary is from Junior, and it's explaining what's going on, even if it is basic stuff that most of us fans would understand. And it seemed like it really helped with Bowyer as well. I've been very critical on Bowyer. I liked him the first year around for a bit, but this year so far, I've thought he's been almost insufferable. This week, he was on task, like the entire broadcast. He was on task and very analytical, and I loved seeing that. Bowyer and Junior breaking down crashes, similar to how Austin Dillon and Kurt Busch did on Saturday, was perfect, in my opinion, for getting fans who are going to be tuning into a big event like this and giving them a reason to more understand the sport, treating the sport seriously. I liked it a lot. And then the last bit, and I think this is also because the race was like 3 hours 15 or 3 hours 30. It was a relatively short 500-mile race. The pacing of the broadcast was perfect. I personally felt like there weren't really that many commercials compared to usual, but there probably were more than usual. It's just that Fox and the team that was really running the Fox broadcast made the race pace really good and fit everything in perfectly. It was really the first time since, honestly, I'd say maybe 2013 or 14 that I felt like NASCAR on Fox was actually at the top of its game. Honestly, NASCAR on Fox hit every broadcast out of the park that they could, and let's be real, if the worst thing we can talk about is Adam Alexander mixing up Daytona and Talladega in qualifying, they did absolutely incredible. So those are my thoughts. I want to hear yours now. Am I a little too positive this week, or do you think that, hey, everything was good? Attaboy, Fox and NASCAR, keep it up. Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content throughout the week, and also to all my channel members and those of you who have jumped on, thank you so much for supporting the channel. So until next time, have a good one.